place that I think every time you come, and I haven't been able to be fortunate to play here for the second time. It never ceases to amaze in the sense of the history, the old school feel for the clubhouse. I mean, I think I saw a scale in there that is probably older than every building around here. And then the golf course in itself, right, with some new changes that still maintains the essence of what Oakmont is all about and what Oakmont is, and extreme challenge. But even when you just stand on that putting green, seeing the whole property, it's, you're somewhere special. It's quite iconic, and is one of those things that makes it a great venue and a great championship.
And what is your mindset just going into a U.S. Open week?
I mean, in theory, same as any other, but you're aware of what a golf tournament here is like. It's going to be a challenge. A lot of unfortunate things are going to happen. It's hard fairways to hit, bad lies, difficult bunkers, difficult greens. So it's going to be a nice test, a difficult test. And I think one of those truest representations of what a U.S. Open is all about.
Open up the questions, James.
What are some of the kinds of shots that you'll have to hit this week that you might not hit any other time this year?
Hard to say kind of shot, because in any golf event, in any major event, you need to have it all, right? You need to be playing really good golf. I think is what players will be okay with, right? With regards of where to hit certain shots, right? Like in the first hole, let's say you hit a great drive, it's downwind, and you end up with a wedge in hand. I think a lot of times, if you just hit the green, you might be happy, which usually, right, if it's outside 15 feet, none of us would be happy, right? So it's a little bit more of understanding of what can happen here and what it is. I think the 10th hole is another great example where if you don't hit your number very easily, that ball just starts trickling off the green, right? So and if you hit the fairway, you don't have a long iron in. So I wouldn't say exactly the type of shots, but it's more the circumstances and what positions you might put yourself in that you need to be okay with.
Back right.
Jon, you talked a little bit about the course itself and the history. How do you kind of get away from the aura of Oakmont as you prepare to play here?
I think you embrace it, right? You know how great it is. But to be honest, once you start the tournament, all of those things kind of go away, right? I mean, it's business at that point. It's time to post the score, so you're not really thinking, look at Oakmont. It's more like, okay, here's the first hole. Hopefully make a 4, move on to the next, right? And that's kind of how it goes. So I think the first few holes you think about it in practice, but then after that is, okay, what do I need to do to hit the best shot possible next shot?
Last question for me. You won this tournament before. What's it like to play on Father's Day and in this tournament?
I was luckily, because it's a different day in Spain for Father's Day, so I was a very new dad when I was able to win it, and I can't say Father's Day was really in my mind on that Sunday, right? And I think it only comes into play obviously once if you can get the win. Well, as a regards to my father, it's weird because I feel like this might be more of a Father's Day to me than it is to him, because for us in Spain it's a different day, right? So in that case, I never had that feeling, but it's only something that I think would come to mind if you have a chance to win on Sunday, or if you do win it on Sunday, right? Besides that, I think the week is big enough to be adding on to that.
In the front, Dave.
Jon, thanks for being here this morning. Does size matter this week? In other words, you look at some of the more recent past winners here. They were strong men, naturally strong players. Is that an advantage?
Well, I mean, because where do we go? Dustin, Angel, Ernie, Larry, Johnny.
Jack.
Johnny, then Jack, right? Yeah, it's a long golf course. I mean, anytime you have heavy rough and length, just being able to hit a distance, having that speed to move the ball forward is always going to be a massive, massive advantage. You rarely have a combination where maybe a Pebble Beach nowadays where you can't really lengthen it. So you have those tricky greens, tricky fairways, but it's not that long. So somebody with really good short game might be able to get it around. But even then, that year, Gary Woodland won, right? So length in a major like this, and even nowadays in general in any sport, having that power is always helpful. And I would like to see all those champions in common. I would like to guess that that week the driving was very much on point, right? I think it's obviously nearly impossible to win a tournament here if you're not hitting it well off the tee, right? Because if you keep putting yourself off the fairway, for lack of a better term, you're going to get Oakmont very often, right? So I would like to, so whoever's the number cruncher in the group can probably see how probably they were very, very, not very superior, but they were really very solid off the tee, and that's obviously the way to start it.
Yeah, I was thinking of you specifically too. Are you able to move it out of the rough if you, or have you?
It's very dependent. When it's this thick, sometimes you get somewhat lucky to where the grass is strong enough to hold the ball and you might be able to have a shot. A lot of the times you won't. It all depends on the club, right? Obviously, I think if you're looking past an 8-iron, it's always going to be very difficult to move it. It gets to a point where you're just trying to get more rollout rather than carry. So it's very light dependent. There's going to be times where you get very lucky and have a wayward tee shot and have a perfect shot, a near perfect shot. And there's going to be times where you're going to miss the fairway by a foot and you're going to have to punch out 20, 50 yards at best, right? So at that point, it's luck of the draw.
In the back, Dan?
We've got another major on a golf course that's been restored and taken out a ton of trees. And it seems like trees are kind of the enemy in this process recently in golf course design. As a professional, when you see a course that took out all the trees, does that make you breathe a little easier, or does it not really make a difference?
I never got to play with trees. In 16, they had done a lot of that job already. I think they've taken, if there's any trees that they've taken out, we're already on the outsides of the property, because they would tell us the only tree in play was the one on 13, right? So I never got to see it that way in this case. I don't remember playing many majors where they've taken trees out, right? Like I know they've done it to Congressional, but I haven't been able to play the course.
Oak Hill.
I didn't play it before.
Right.
So I think, I don't know. I wouldn't know what to tell you. It's funny to me how maybe 80 to 100 years ago they planted the trees and let them grow. And then 100 years later we're like, well, I want to see how it was originally, but the original founders planted the trees for a reason, right? So it's always funky in a way to see the difference. I think in a weird way, in some cases the trees on a golf course like this one can help, because if a ball is going offline, most of the time it might stop it and have a decent chance. And maybe, I don't know how thick the rough was surrounded, but having trees and the tree roots usually can prevent the rough from being as thick and lush as it is right now. Either way, this golf course is going to be difficult. So I think this is one of the cases where it's nice to see it, just because of what I just said. When you stand on that first tee, 10 tee, 18, 9, you get a layout of the whole property. You get to see the entirety of it, and as beautiful as it is, I think it's worth it here.
And then totally unrelated, you've got 21 top 10s. You've been in top 10 in every live event that you've played in. A lot of talk about trying to contextualize that. You're the only one who's lived it on both sides. How would you contextualize your top 10 streak?
I would happily trade a bunch of them for more wins, that's for sure. But I keep putting myself in good position. Listen, I'm a realist in this case. I've been playing really good golf, yes, but I'll be lying if I said that it wasn't easier to have top 10s with a smaller field. That's just the truth, right? Had I been playing full field events, would I have top 10 every single week? No. But I've been playing good enough to say that I would have most likely been inside the top 30 every single time, and maybe even top 25, which for 21 straight tournaments, I'll say that's pretty good. But I still would have had a lot of top 10s, that's for sure. It's hard to say, but there's definitely some weeks, I think, like last week, for example. having a weaker Sunday than everybody else, I don't think I would have top 10. But I was able to finish 8th. That's just more. I think winning is equally as hard. You can take advantage a little bit of a smaller field to finish higher, right? So I wouldn't always, as much as I want to give it credit personally for having that many top 10s, I wouldn't always give it as the full amount, just knowing that it's a smaller field.
A couple questions on the left, Shane.
John, looking back at the PGA, it hadn't been that long since you were in contention on Sunday at a major, only a couple years. But is there anything that you forget that you have to relearn being in that situation again? Is there did it serve as a refresher of any kind, or is there anything that you remembered once you were, done with the round or anything like that?
Not necessarily, no. So I was fully aware of the situation, of what I was putting myself. And once I got to that point as well, if anything, it was a true joy to put myself in that position again, right? I was very happy to be there, and felt like I was in control. It was nice. It was unfortunate that, not even 16, just one bad swing on 17, which wasn't even entirely that bad. It's just a very, very difficult hole. Cost me as much as it did, but nothing that I can think of that would be a reminder or something that I had to remember, no.
And I guess what I'm getting at, I was thinking of Brooks, how he lost to you at the Masters, but then won the next time. Bryson lost at the PGA, then won the next time. Do you think there's anything in you that's now better suited to win now that you've gone through the experience of it again?
Yeah, I think just the experience of being there in general always helps. I'll say Brooks was a different case because he had the lead going into Sunday both times, right? So I was 5 shots back going into Sunday, so it was a long chance. But yeah, obviously it does help just knowing that you've been there in a more recent tournament. I think is always going to help. Yeah.
Front left, Brantley.
I'm curious if you saw what the amateurs did here a few years ago and hitting their tee shots down different fairways, and if any of those shots, having seen the course this week, if any of those shots still make sense.
I've spoken with a few of the players. One of them being Preston Summerhays, obviously being an ASU alum and member of Server Leaf. I've seen him quite a bit, and a couple others that play the USM here. And I remember telling them, there is 0 chance in this world anybody goes to 11T and his driver towards 10. Because what I remember from the US Open was that rough between 10 and 11 might have been the thickest on the entire property. You were not advancing it anywhere, right? And same on 1, they were almost bailing left for whatever reason, right? So it was very weird to see that happen because that is not the course I remembered. I know they had weather and had to adjust a little bit, but yeah, I told them, if you ever play US Open there's no chance you're doing that. And if you are, you're taking a big risk, obviously.
I think Paolo and then Bob.
You said earlier, at a course like this, at a week like this, bad things are probably going to happen. What's the mental approach, knowing that that's going to be the case? And then I'm curious for you, how has the way you've responded to bad things happening on the golf course evolved the longer you've been in your career?
It's gotten a lot better. I think my main issue is always with accepting the mistakes, right? I'm fully aware that I can make mistakes, but accepting that I've done it, that is my fault, and move on, right? A lot of times, and I'm very vocal about blaming something on the outside, even though when I'm saying it, I'm fully aware that it's my fault, right? So the quicker I accept that it was me and I move on was going to help. And there's been weeks where I've performed really well on tough courses, but that was the case, right? So I think as it relates to me is just that acceptance that is going to happen and that it happens, and then you do what you need to do to hit the better shot next time. And it's just a tough course, right? It's so difficult where very few times anybody has won under par. If it doesn't rain, most likely over par will win again, right? It's something that none of us would say are used to. But it's a challenge that you need to embrace, right? I think it's if there's any part of your game that will be tested more than any on a week like this will be your mental game. That's for sure.
Yeah, Bob.
You said earlier how important it is to drive it well here. Obviously, how would you say you've been driving it this year? How do you feel about your and do you need to hit a lot of drivers here?
It starts off the tee, right? I mean, it does start off the tee. You need to do everything well. If you just drive it well and then everything else is poor, you have no chance, right? So it all starts off the tee. They've added some length and some holes. Like 3, you didn't necessarily have to hit driver, but now you kind of do. You can always choose not to, but I wouldn't be going into those greens with 6 5-irons in hand by choice. That's just too small a targets to even have a chance. So as often as possible, I would say driver is going to be the play. I feel like I've been driving it good this year. I wouldn't say it's my best ever, but I'm feeling good. It's been a good year. If we go back to the last major PGA, I felt confident, really confident of the tee, moving it both ways. So carrying that over to this week as well. But again, it's so much more than just that, right? It's a test of all aspects of your game, and that's what makes it so special.
Was the driving something that would held you back a little bit in the early part of last year? You mentioned before that you had swing issues and you've worked through them.
Well, I hadn't changed my driver's shaft since early 2013. So what I explained last year, right before the U.S. Open, I changed to the current shaft, was that I think I had outgrown the shaft I was playing. And it's not only that it was the exact same one. We would just literally take the head off, put a new one in and go, right? So I think that the shaft had just ran its course, and it wasn't performing the same way, mainly because I have more swing speed, right? I think back then when I did it, I was around 175. If I stepped on it, 177 ball speed. Now it's almost 10 miles an hour more. So that's a big change. So the way the shaft was performing was having me have to compensate during my swing to avoid certain mistakes, and I think that bled into the rest of my game. And that I changed that basically a year ago, and it's been something I'm trying to come back since. But there's still some feelings and some compensations that still come from that just got accentuated because of that, right? It seems so simple, so trivial, but I think it had been happening for a better part of a year and a half, and I think overcorrecting those mistakes is always going to be harder than creating those bad habits, right? So there's still something I'm fighting every once and again, but there's nothing. It's in a much smaller measure now.
A few more questions. Go Jerry in the back.
Jon, when you come here, where do you gain or get more of your confidence from how you've, in this regard to a previous answer, from how you've played on LIV recently, or just the belief that you're a 2-time major champ, you've won an Open before, and that you know how you compete in these majors?
Both. I know I've been playing good. Yeah, it's and it's been consistently good. So I get it from both, knowing that I've done well in majors in the past, I've done well in majors recently, and week in and week out I've been playing good golf. So that both things combined.
Back to the left, Doug.
Jon, if you lived in Pittsburgh, would you want to be a member here? And if so, why?
Say yes, just because you'll be able to say you're a member at Oakmont and play it whenever you want. Would I play here every day? No. Right? We had an event last night at Fox Hills. Looked beautiful. Probably play there more often. And I'm sure there's some great golf courses in the area as well. But I met with a member at a function yesterday, and I was asking him, do you play Oakmont every single day? Like, it's just like, when you go, do you even try to shoot a score? Like, you just go to play and have fun, or are you counting them every day? Because I feel like when they set it up hard, and if they set up, like, if they have a superintendent's revenge here, I don't know what the average score must be, because I think 90% of the field doesn't finish, because it could be absolutely impossible. So, but all jokes aside, yeah, of course I want to be a member here. Yeah, it's a beautiful golf course and very historic.
So you were joking?
No, I would be a member. Would I play here every day? No. But I wouldn't play anywhere every day. Like, I would like the diversity of playing elsewhere.
But if this will probably sound simple, but if someone were to ask you what's Oakmont like, and you said it was very hard, and why? What's the one thing that makes this place hard?
I don't know if there's one thing. Assuming the rough is lower on an average day at Oakmont in a non-US Open year, the biggest challenge of the tee will be those fairway bunkers. They're usually very penal, right? They're very often just deep enough to where you don't have a chance to get to the green due to the length. But if there's just one thing across all, is the greens. Yeah, it's very complicated, intricate greens that if you were to make them flat, this golf course would be very, very different.
Anything else for Jon? Oh, one more here. Sean?
Yeah, being a low am that actually finishes in the top 25, I think, in 16, like, you're arriving before everyone is like really ready for you to arrive. I'm curious what that moment told you about your game. Like, I have a future here.
I had luckily performed well on PGA Tour events before then. I think I had 2 top 10s, one in Phoenix and one in Mayakoba. So at that point, I was fully confident that I had what it took. What it took, right? Like I knew I was capable of competing with the best players in the world. I had no doubt. So at that point, it was getting the test of a U.S. Open, and I think naively not knowing what to expect helped a lot, because I came here and I was like, oh, this is what every U.S. Open is like, right? I didn't know this was the top tier of difficulty of U.S. Open. I was like, oh, this is just a week to week. It's great. Yeah, I'm used to it. Which is funny, because after playing here, I went to Congressional and I was like, oh, this place is easy. I mean, it's a piece of cake compared to what we played last week. So it helped play really good that week. And even though that first round, I had a double and a triple that cost me a lot. I think I shot 6 or 7 over on that first round. And, you know, how to go on a Saturday morning after sitting out all Friday and knowing that I had to shoot a low score to make the cut, and doing it, shooting 1 under was a huge deal, right? I know I got up and down on 18 to the short right pin from just past it to the right to make the cut. I think I was already in it even if I bogeyed, but to get in and just keep performing well, right? I think those last 3 days, I believe I was somewhere between even to over par. That was a huge deal, and to finish that high was a massive confidence booster in many ways, right? To when I approach a tough golf course, which I did the week after that, I had the confidence that I could get it done.
All right, thanks, Jon. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Hey, Jon, we'll do a couple minutes of serious.
All right.